How will you address the problem of aggressive and persistent panhandling?
You know, what I think we need to do, what most folks do not understand that we did, is we actually decriminalized panhandling back in 2005 or 6, I can't recall. And what I would tell you is that the law that we currently have on the books is working in other cities. What we are missing here is the funding that goes along with that law that complements the social service agencies that would be able to take the folks away that need the support that they are currently not getting. And so I would suggest and solicit our nonprofit community and our faith-based community to step up and help with some of the services that we are not able to, we personally or we in the city are not able to pay for right now. So we in fact decriminalize, let me say it again because people don't understand that. We actually decriminalized panhandling when we passed our law, our new law in either '05 or '06.
It's my understanding that it wasn't council's intent to decriminalize it, but the law department has directed the Atlanta Police Department not to enforce the ordinance. What does the mayor need to do to get a law that the law department will bless and our police officers will have as a tool to both send people who violate our codes to corrections, or to send the mentally ill folks to the people, the support services, and the nonprofits that you mentioned?
Sure, I can't comment on what the law department has said or what they've told the police department, so I don't want to make a comment there at all. But I think we all need to agree on what the law needs to say, and once council passes it, the collaboration needs to come. The mayor's office sends over legislation. The council has the opportunity to tweak the legislation. It can go either way. Council can also present it and have the mayor comment on it. You can work collaboratively and then bring a piece of legislation to the table that everyone has already worked through what the issues are. So it might mean that we need to communicate better amongst ourselves and write a good piece of legislation that we all can appreciate and enforce and live with. The police department, the mayor, the council, and our citizens.
One of the things that Mayor Franklin has done is to create the Gateway Center and to try to deal with the concerns about the Pine Street shelter. I was speaking with Sam Williams, the president of our Chamber of Commerce recently, and he said that that is a huge issue for businesses relocating to Atlanta, both primarily the panhandling and the aggressive nature of the panhandling. Since the Pine Street shelter creates that, becomes an attractive nuisance for homeless people who do not want support services. They become a temporary housing facility for homeless people. How are you going to deal with the Pine Street shelter?
Well, I want to be careful that we don't characterize people that they don't want help because we don't know all of their challenges, but I take your question seriously. I think what we have to make sure is that all of our nonprofit and civically engaged service providers are providing their service within the confines of the law. So we've got to have a better structure. I think we've got a very fragmented system, and we have folks that are not working together, and I mean all of us, the city, the non-profit providers. We've got to do a better job of that because one shelter is overflowing while another may have additional beds so that we don't have an overflowing situation like Peachtree and Pine. More importantly, when I think about the city, it's just really disappointing that we have this chronic homeless problem. We have not figured this out. I'm not sure why we allow citizens like ourselves, it could be one of us, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, that we haven't tried to resolve this, not only at the city level, but at the state level. When we look at the state and having closed all of the mental hospitals and the substance abuse programs, you know, we are turning people out on the street because we are doing a very poor job of planning for our citizens in the city and in the state of Georgia. So I think it goes beyond, much more beyond Peachtree and Pine, but we could have a more coordinated effort and not have such a fragmented system.
One issue that's dear to me is the fact that we've uncovered deplorable treatment of some of our disabled police officers in the last 3 months. Treatment that had been neglected for years. How will you as mayor make sure that that doesn't reoccur?
You know, that's a great question. I think what we need to do is investigate what's going on, and I think a lot of that has been done in this most recent case. We need to evaluate if we have the best possible system in place and if our police officers who have been catastrophically injured are being taken care of, because the last thing we want to do is disrespect or dishonor those who have given their very best, the time of their life in some instances, their practical life, because they are in wheelchairs and they are not able to function as well as they were previously. So I think we need to evaluate the process that we have in place for getting them the medicine and the equipment and the housing and all of the things that they deserve in their twilight years. So it's got to be investigated and evaluated, and then we need to put a program in place that works for them.
Well, tell me about the program, because they want to know.
Because they want to know.
Would you have someone in the finance department, for instance, do a quarterly check with these disabled officers? Or would you have a civilian review look over that?
I'm not sure if we'd put it at civilian review, but I would have no problem having I would even say a monthly review of what's going on. What I never want to see is a situation devolve to the place it devolved to this last time. I had never seen anything like that in my 5 years of service, but I don't want to ever see that again. Monthly might be too often, quarterly might be too long, so maybe, what is that, bi-monthly, every 2 months, which will be 6 times a year.
They'll be glad to hear that.
Okay.
One initiative that Mayor Franklin was able to get through was the Police Foundation. Certainly, Councilmember Martin did research on that, brought it here. What level of transparency do you feel is appropriate for the Police Foundation in terms of their fundraising, in terms of their disbursements, and in terms of their salaries?
Sure. All of us are very proud. Mr. Martin always leads the charge on public safety. He actually led the charge on the budget this year, too. So I am grateful to him, and I want to salute the work that he has always done for all the years that he has served on council. But I also would tell you the Police Foundation, I support it 100%. But it is a 501c3, and there's a level of transparency that's required by the IRS. And so I would encourage them to always be compliant with all of the rules and the regulations that the IRS imposes on all 501c3s. What I am not comfortable doing is, as the mayor or as any elected official, insisting that they respond to a request from the city other than the traditional, I'm a citizen, I'd like to know how much money you've raised, which you can read actually on their 990 that's filed every year.
Okay, one of the programs that they manage is the Crime Stoppers program. As I checked it this week, there are virtually no recent entries to that. There's nothing about the crimes that have occurred at Georgia Tech. How can the mayor hold employees of the Police Foundation accountable, given that it's separate, but that it's so important to our public safety?
Well, we can simply ask the question, I think, as mayor, where the Crime Stopper numbers are. You know, have they had an opportunity to update their website or wherever it is that you are referencing that it is not available. For those of us in elected office, it's sometimes hard to keep up with all the data. So I would simply just ask the question.
Yeah, well, that's one of the questions my neighbors were concerned about, because they've been watching this recent crime wave. Talking about the role of council. Many council members have assumed an ombudsman role because of lack of response. You mentioned it earlier. As mayor, how do you get council to focus more on policy and less on customer service from each of the departments?
Well, it's a sort of a dual-edged sword, because when citizens elect you, they expect that anytime they call you, you will answer the phone and you will do exactly what they ask. It could be something as simple as getting another Herbie the Kirby. Our priority, obviously, is policy issues. And in a world where, if and when we have absolutely perfect constituent services, in a world where we have absolutely perfect performance by every department, then I think I could ask council to step back and absolutely only deal with policy. To the extent that we need improvement, I think they move back. We all release control when we have confidence that the job is getting done. And if we are not confident that it's getting done, we don't let go. So it would be my responsibility as mayor to make sure that things are running and running well at City Hall before I could ask people to step back and not play in that sandbox, if you will.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much.